But yeah, I'm going to do this. So like, this is going to be the first episode of the Friendoville podcast.
Oh, cool. Right on.
That's the channel you're on right now, Friendoville.
I know I've been on this channel before with their show Four Lights. Like,
Yeah, whatever happened to that show, anyways?
yeah, what did happen to it? We both just like, I mean, we live 500 miles away. I think we both convinced ourselves that if we weren't doing it in my garage of the house that I sold, or if I wasn't like up in Sacramento and we weren't doing it in your house or whatever, that it didn't feel the same, which is silly. Because the remote episodes that we did were fun.
Yeah, no, they were fine. They were totally fine. Now, like with Zoom, like it's funny, like for going in raw, it's been it's been awesome doing things remotely. Like we were sort of forced into it, obviously, like everybody else was forced into boosting the stock price of Zoom. And it's great. Like, obviously, like, Lars and I, we much rather, like we tried to do an office for a while. And it was like, why are we doing that? Like, we're just.
It just felt like one of our apartments from college. It's just. Remember I walked in there, you guys had like there was like a little kitchenette in the back. And I was looking at it, I was like, what are you guys doing? Why is there just food everywhere? You just like leave old cans of food and boxes of cereal and open and out.
Right.
Mess.
Yeah, it was a fucking. We just like the old apartments. We had like weird shit. Like there was for one period of time, there was like for like months, there was like a whole cubicle worth of just cardboard boxes.
Yeah,
and Lars is
all
like,
those cardboard boxes.
Lars is like, I'm gonna take these to the like recycling place or something. I'm like, there's a dumpster downstairs. Like, no, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take it to the recycling place. I'm like, all right, we don't need. It's like we're not using the space anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I mean, were there not recycling cans in Fair Oaks? Was that not a thing?
There was a lot of cardboard. It was like an obscene amount of cardboard. I don't even know where all the cardboard came from. I mean, we got like a bunch of shirts like in boxes and stuff, but like it was like a whole mansion of like cardboard. And yeah, no, there was just a dumpster. There was like a big giant dumpster for the office building downstairs, like outside. And I was willing to just dump it out there, but he was insistent on taking it to the recycling place. I'm like, oh, whatever. It's your deal. If you want to do that, you go ahead and do it. I'm not doing that. But yeah, I figure like, I don't know, man, I come on this channel and I'm fine doing it. I like doing it. I wouldn't do this channel if I didn't enjoy doing it. But instead of like ranting for 20 minutes into a camera by myself, I figured I'd bring you on because you told me you'd watched Winter Soldier and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But yeah, let's talk because people have asked about Four Lights. So the deal with Four Lights is this. Tim, who I did the Picard reviews, I think honestly part of it was, we talked about this earlier on text message. We just prepared a little too much.
Oh, sure.
The episodes were a lot of fun to do, but I felt like in order to do one, I'd have to go back, rewatch the episode while I'm sitting there taking notes. Yeah. And I do that with the wrestling thing with going in Raw. It's like, oh yeah,
that's your literal job. It doesn't feel like, and I have a literal job too. It just like, I felt like another job.
Yeah,
I think that's why it kind of died for us. So when we get back to it, what we need to do is just like watch a couple episodes and then just get on the bullshit about them instead of keeping copious notes, which is fun. Like I like that whole note thing. Like that was, and I think it made the podcast interesting, but it was also just kind of too much work for us and it became less fun.
It was kind of unnecessary because there's all sorts of recaps that you can just steal off, I'd source them. Be like, hey, I got this from, I don't know, whatever does recaps for that kind of shit. There's all sorts of places like that. I mean, the companion episode or the companion book that.
Oh yeah, it's great.
I think there's recaps in that of everything. And so yeah, I mean, it's, the thing about note taking is that like, it does help me capture the minutia, the smaller details, like when Commander Riker will like adjust his pants or something. Yeah. Like I'll, you take a note of that. But yeah, like you said, it sort of feels like sometimes like a bit of a job. But now that everybody's on Zoom, it's like, shit, why not do this here on Zoom? And Tim has talked about wanting to continue on the Four Lights with one of our friends, Dr. Fletcher. And and
Yeah, you mentioned that. I'm a big fan of that. I think Tim, the work that you and Tim did together on Picard, the Picard shows were fantastic. It was great work, and I would love to see whatever he does moving forward with whatever Star Trek he wants.
I told Tim, I said, look, here's the deal. You do whatever you want to do. I'm not like Jeff and I. We do not care. Like you can have, you can use the Four Lights name for whatever you want to do, Star Trek related, because I know Tim, he's pure of heart. And he's anxious to review like sort of the new stuff. And I said, look, just hands off of Next Generation, because if he sets up a home for this stuff, I have no problem, squatting every once in a while and revisiting Next Generation with you again.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. Totally awesome.
I'm going to see if I whipped up a really fast, you won't be able to see this now, but once the episode goes up, you'll be able to see it. I put together a little graphic here for our background. I'm going to see if it's going to work. So yeah, I figured instead of, I've thought about doing like a Friendoville podcast. Podcasts are great because it's just a great way to sort of connect with people and just bullshit for a little while. That might be a bit too much. That's a really busy background here. And so, I was like, hey, you know what? I made sure you watched the thing. I watched it, me and my, middle step kid, Summer, like she's the only one in the house who's like nerdy like me. And so like we made a habit, like we'd stay up until midnight and watch, the latest episodes.
I was watching the next morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I told you about that. I'd watch it, Saturday morning. It was like because I like you and I grew up in an age where they had Saturday morning cartoons. It was like that was one of the few times during the week when you could watch cartoons, because it's like you don't have homework to do. It's Saturday morning. You put cartoons on, and if you miss them, then you miss the cartoons for the week. So to have something on Saturday morning that I can watch is great.
Yeah, what's crazy about that is that these days, like I'll ask Larson, I'll be like, "Hey, are your kids watching the Octonauts?" And he's like, "No, what's that?" And then I'll be like, "What are your kids watching?" He's like, he'll rattle off some name. I have no idea what it is. That ain't how it used to be back in the day. Back when we were growing up, it's like everybody knew it was.
You had like 2 or 3 choices. That was it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it was like, what are you into? He-Man, G.I. Joe, Transformers. Are you poor and you have to be into GoBots?
GoBots.
Are you just weird like me and you're into Mask?
I mean, Mask was cool. I maintain that Mask was a good franchise.
Mask was rad. I loved it.
Yeah.
And they had like solid toys. It's just, it never caught on because I think the hook was like not all that interesting.
Yeah.
It's like just a bunch of dudes with like masks and then cars that kind of changed into other things, but it wasn't as wild as like a sentient fucking like robot who would then turn into a diesel or something like that,
Yeah, that has an inherent cool factor that you can't really beat, because you could like have a mask car in reality,
Yeah, you could just
part of it.
that.
I think kind of felt like it belonged to your dad too, because if your dad walks through the room while you're watching Mask, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's like James Bond's car," It just transforms into a boat or a submarine, and you just feel like, "Ugh, gross." I want to watch something that my dad might like. Ugh.
Ugh, he's disgusting. What a creep. Yeah, but for whatever reason, were you huge into G.I. Joe back then?
No, G.I. Joe was my thing. He-Man was always my thing.
Yeah, I liked He-Man.
I had like a trash can filled with He-Man action figures that at some point I think I got too old. My parents made me give the whole thing away to Toys for Tots, which I think is great, but sometimes I miss having those.
Yeah.
But also like I have too much shit already, so I don't like it.
Yeah, I think our generation is definitely going to turn into nasty hoarders because, like, we had such great childhoods for the most part. Like, in terms of pop culture, anyways, it's like if our regular childhoods was shitty, we could always just glom on to whatever pop culture shit we were into. Yeah. Falcon and Winter Soldier. Did you watch? First of all, let's preface this latest phase, which has been all derailed by COVID, but it was supposed to kick off with Black Widow, apparently.
The movie, and then that was supposed to go into I believe the first show was supposed to be Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which proved to be more complex in post-production, and then it was going to be followed by WandaVision and then Loki, I believe. I'm pretty sure.
I had not heard that about Falcon and Winter Soldier. What was complex about it?
Well, it's just a lot of action sequences, whereas a lot of the majority of WandaVision was shot on green screen.
Not
in like location stuff, so they didn't have to do much location. It was pretty much just all green screen.
Yeah.
And I think that they had shot the limited location and studio stuff, like backlot stuff. Because the whole town is obviously, oh God, I feel like, we should do one on WandaVision so I can actually do a modicum of research. But I think that backlot might be the Universal backlot. No, actually, it's more likely that they shot it. I think they shot it in Georgia, so it's probably some small town backlot in Georgia.
What did you think of WandaVision?
I loved WandaVision. I thought that was great. Yeah. If I was gonna compare the two, I think I give a marginal lead to WandaVision in my own personal preference, but they're both really good. They're both fantastic, and I love how they're both very much addressing the various traumas of the protagonists, and then also the other characters that they introduce, which is pretty fascinating. So yeah,
it's funny because a bunch of the standout stuff, I liked WandaVision a lot. I thought it was, man, I got weepy at the end when the kids disappeared and stuff. I started watching, reading House of M, which apparently it's like loosely based off of.
Yeah.
But it's funny because with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the things that I really sort of appreciated about it was everything that wasn't the central plot, like the A plot with the super serum people and that girl who, and I really appreciated that they were addressing the realities of what happens when half the world's population disappears for 5 years.
I think they're really factoring that into the huge part of the next phase. Really, like I think all the movies are going to address that.
Yeah, I love that stuff. I thought that we got into the sort of the necessary geopolitical societal ramifications of what happens with all that with the what are they called, the GRC?
Global
repatriation.
Is it repatriation? Repopulation?
I think it's we're already repopulated. I think it's repatriate. I don't know what it is.
Global Repatriation Council.
Repatriation. That's a hard word to say. How like they're all, everybody came back and now people are living in my house and I'm not there and stuff. I thought that although like the background of it was interesting, I felt like the first couple episodes, a lot of that stuff just sort of dragged, like telling basically a feature film over the span of 6 episodes, which I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier kind of tried to do a bit more than WandaVision, which WandaVision was very much like, hey, this is our, basically, like if you take out Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., this is our, this phase is on TV now. This is our jumping into TV with Disney Plus. And that's what I really appreciate is it was kind of ballsy to have an entire first episode that was basically a Lucy and Desi type thing, I Love Lucy type episode. And the entire episode was that. And then it starts to chip away and then you get into some more traditional MCU type action. I thought that was incredibly ballsy because that first episode of WandaVision wasn't the easiest thing to sit through for 24 minutes or whatever it was. It was like, oh, okay, I get this. This is charming.
Yeah, you just expected them to go to something that was more traditional and more MCU immediately, and to make, like you say, make that bold move and to do something that's totally sort of non-diegetic or totally removed from the reality of all the movies that came before immediately. Felt like kind of a jagged cut, but it kind of needed to be to show the disruption of what Wanda did ultimately.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In the end, it paid off amazingly. It really did. It was really a great sum of the experience, or more than the sum of the experience. But I thought Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I thought that all the other stuff, all the B story stuff, like the what was the name, Isaiah Bradley character, which I was not expecting them to bring him into it, because I remember when they did the Black Super Soldier storyline in Marvel.
Yeah, I didn't remember that at all. By the way, Truth, Red, White, and Black. Yeah, because I looked it up by Morales and Baker. I have no recollection of that book at all.
I remember when it came out.
Read it. Yeah, it was 2003.
Okay,
So,
God, it was that long ago. It was almost
Yeah.
20 years ago. I remember when it came out and people making a big, because I think at the time I was still pretty deep into comics.
Yeah.
And I remember people making a big deal about it. I don't remember ever actually picking it up. But
Me neither.
when they
Which is a shame because the 7-issue, they haven't done a trade. The 7-issue miniseries will cost you like over $300 right now.
Is it on Marvel
like
Unlimited?
eBay. I think it's on, yeah, I'm sure it is.
Boy, they never did a trade for that?
I know it's stupid. They should put a trade out.
That's weird. That's just bizarre. Man. I loved that. I loved John Walker. I thought the U.S. agent introduction.
Yeah, that was a very
awesome.
good adaptation of that character for sure.
I didn't really know a whole lot. Now, I don't know. I know that so much of Marvel's, I don't know a whole lot in terms of Marvel's continuity being in the comics being kind of rebooted. Like
it's interesting as a fan of the comics to see the choices that they make in adapting characters and storylines, because it's not necessary. It rarely is it just straight up A to B.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of the relationships are very comparable to what they are in the comic books at different stages or in different story arcs. And a lot of the costuming is similar. Like compare it to sort of the costuming adaptations that they make. It's not like, which going back to WandaVision is really interesting, is like having her do essentially just straight up really great cosplay when she's doing that Halloween episode.
Oh man, that was awesome.
And doing just a true to life cosplay representation of what Wanda looks like in the comics, and having that juxtaposed to her identity in her outfit in the movies and other episodes of the show when she's wearing like the classic MCU Wanda outfit.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you an idea of sort of the gray area or the adjustments that they make in adapting. So in talking about US Agent, I'm trying to remember, I'm pretty sure I'm right here. It's like the turn that US Agent goes through when he goes from somebody who's very noble and has the best of intentions and experiences a trauma that we can get into later. That turn is very comparable. In the comics, actually, it's, if I recall correctly, it's because his parents get murdered by terrorists, and it's in a slightly different context. So in the show, obviously, someone else very close to him gets murdered. That was interesting to me, because that character, it has a lot more longevity in the comics, and I did not expect that character to go away so quickly, and really like that guy too.
Yeah, no, I thought
I was like, oh, I can't wait to see more of this guy. And I was like, oh shit.
Wait, you're talking about in the MCU or in the comics?
Yeah, in the show.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I'm sure he'll be back.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, the what's her face? We're getting into spoilers, by the way. When they brought Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character in,
yeah,
like she's clearly assembling like a team of some sort. Like that, I thought it was amazing the way they introduced him, because like he shows up and he's this, like Wish.com version of Captain America, and there's all these fucking memes that show up, and it's amazing. And then by the end, and that because he's got that U.S. agent outfit. Did you watch the post-credit scene, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was awesome too. He calls her Val.
That was great. That was awesome. And it's like, okay, so maybe this is going to be, because then it was announced like a day later that they're doing Captain America 4. I'm going to get onto Screen Rant's website here. Do you like Screen Rant?
Yeah, I check Screen Rant.
They always have these crazy, it's like the great play. I don't know, maybe the nerds out there will be like, oh no, fuck that thing, because everybody's counter. But like, I like it because they've got all these great, like, oh, maybe this is happening with, in the Star Trek universe. And they've got all these like crazy ass, like, I think it was you who told me that, goddamn, the Picard, no, the dude in Discovery, the Control shit that you think, didn't you talk about this? How you thought the Control was like an origin story for the Borg?
Yes.
Yeah. And then I was like,
because he says something specifically, and I can't remember the line.
It was like something is futile.
But it was so close to resistance is futile. He's like, like it's so close to it. It's just like, it's like putting up a fight is stupid. not that dumb. This is why I don't work in Hollywood writing scripts, because they're like, what's another way to say resistance is futile? They're like, putting up a fight is stupid.
Hey, Jeff.
Just
Great
drop the
idea, Jeff.
coffee off
You're
and
fired.
get out of here. Jesus Christ.
Exactly. So no, and then I looked it up, and I think it was Screen Rant who had like a similar article about that, and I was like, oh, let me dig into this. They have all these great fucking articles there. So yeah, Captain America 4 was announced. I mean, you would think this has got to be sort of like a big blow off type thing for this first season of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. A lot of this shit might be, paying off even more there, like, because there are a ton of loose ends with Sharon Carter and what's going on with her. And so, yeah, I'm kind of curious how they're going to, yeah. Okay. So let's see here. It says concurrent with that is the setup for teams such as the Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts, yeah. Because that's Baron Zemo and U.S. Agent and who else?
Oh, Thunderbolts had Zemo and U.S. Agent? Okay.
Yeah, I believe so.
Probably right. Let me see. I remember when that came out, everybody was like, their minds were like blown at that one.
And also like Thunderbolt Ross, who would be played by William Hurt, conceivably, because he played him in the Hulk movies.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I think they're supposed to bring him back for the She-Hulk show, I believe.
Yeah, there's like a lot going on. Who's that guy? I don't know who he is. But yeah, that should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's funny though, because like one of my buddies, Kale, had said, man, they sure did jam a lot of shit in that last episode.
Yes.
And they totally did. It's like, and that's the funny thing about doing this stuff serially is like you've got to have basically like a lot of stuff, like all the big stuff happens in the span of like your last hour, out of like a 6-hour series, or depending on how long they're going to run these series. Like I think WandaVision was like 9 episodes. I loved everything about that last episode because it was so jam packed, and like I thought that a lot of the other episodes were kind of like they dragged a little bit.
Yeah,
but like the thing that cracked me up the most that I was like, man, is just how long-winded that speech that Sam gave at the end to like those politicians. And like, he was just talking for days. And I was like, a speech like this where a dude like sort of publicly shames and guilt trips politicians into doing like the right thing. Like that is such a leap in law. I would believe more that a dude could like invent wings that could have him fly with such precision and accuracy more than I would think that politicians could be guilted into doing the right thing.
I mean, just theoretically, the politicians would really do anything substantial. That's
right. Yeah. Exactly. It's like, oh, I heard they heeded your words, Sam, and they're doing the right thing. Man, that is in no. Like, I would believe that Thanos would actually show up in real life before I'd believe that. Yeah. Like, that just doesn't happen. It is funny, though, because, like, when we were kids and you'd see, I don't know, I don't have like Superman shows up in Superman 4 and convinces the United Nations to get rid of nuclear arms or whatever the fucking plot was, right? When you're a kid or even, like, 2010 or something, or 2016 anyways, like you might believe that like when publicly presented with like an ultimatum like that, under public pressure, politicians would do something. Like that was these days, it's so out of the realm of possibility. It's such a fantasy land that I totally expected him to do this 10-minute long speech that's being broadcast on every channel. And then it's just like, yeah, they just didn't do anything. They voted against it. Like they're just trying to please, their fucking super PACs and stuff.
Yeah, totally.
And their donors.
Yeah, but when you're a kid, you think that adults do stuff. You're like, right. Oh yeah, Superman talked them into doing something right, like instead of the wrong thing. It's like they're barely doing anything. Like that's the problem. Like when you're a kid, you're just like, oh, Superman would never sit in a gross bar and get drunk. It's like, yeah, he would. Grow up a bit. Sitting in a bar and getting drunk is great.
Yeah. In reality, if anybody, if I don't care if you're Mother Teresa, if you had like Superman powers, chances are you would just take everything over. Like you'd become an instant asshole. You'd become the worst person ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Homelander is a much more like probable scenario than Superman is.
Totally.
But yeah. And then the stuff with I really did like sort of the course of Sam's character, and you know how eventually he was just like, I love how like he had no bones about it when he shows up in episode 6 with the nice Captain America outfit. Somebody says, "Hey, who are you?" He's like, "I'm Captain America." No, like there's no hesitancy there. It's just like, yeah, it's just me now. I'm doing that now.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, me too. That was great. I mean, going into the show, I wasn't super jazzed about it because my assumption as a fan of and as a watcher of everything in the series too, all the MCU movies, and lover of all those movies, except for Thor 2, was this is just going to be like Marvel's spy movie, which I'm like, oh, I'm kind of on board for that. I do I love the character of Sam Wilson. Like in the realm of Captain America, I'm not a big fan in general.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've bought many, if any, Captain America books. I might have one or two over the course of my many decades of buying specifically Marvel comics. Mm-hmm. Like I've been heavy into Marvel all those years. Captain America to me was like never super interesting in the same way that to me personally, I know this is going to be somewhat offensive to you, Superman's not.
No, I mean that's actually pretty common. That's a pretty common. I thought that Zack Snyder actually did as much as anybody could reasonably do with making Superman interesting, because I thought that his take on him was pretty decent. Yeah,
that's fair. To me as a comic fan, I always like Superman Elseworlds books more. Like I love Red Sun. Like I figure like those kinds of stories where they really re-examine the character from a different perspective are more interesting than just classic Superman being, you know, kind of a goody two shoes and making all the right choices. And your classic Steve Rogers Captain America character is kind of like that.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
He's a total goody two shoes. He's interesting that it's sort of a precursor to Spider-Man, and that he's a skinny, gawky nerd that gets given this amazing power. That's an interesting take, but ultimately the character in and of himself is just kind of a goody two shoes, and it gets a little annoying after a while. It feels like there's no complexity or there's no depth to it.
Yeah.
Which is like a very simplified take and not really fair to the character of Captain America or Steve Rogers, like the original one, the Steve Rogers Captain America. But you know, we all have our perceptions.
Well, it's also, dude, like, you know, I don't know what he came around in the 1940s, I guess, because he was fighting Hitler. So like,
like literally, like there's a classic Captain America punching Hitler.
Yeah, I think that was the first.
Like, that's like you have to have a character that's so basic and diametrically opposed, because what you're facing at that time was a very basic and extreme evil. So you need to have a character that's basic and extreme good to contrast that.
Yeah.
And as you move into a world that's more gray, then you need a world of heroes that are a little bit more flexible in their morality and stuff like that.
So at this point you've got like damn near 80 years to tell a story about a guy who's basically just like a good guy. And so there are definitely interesting stories that have been told, but on a regular monthly basis, if you're picking up Captain America, like, you know, for the past 80 years, like it's probably going to get a little bit old. And I mean, that's the same thing with Superman. It's like this guy can literally do everything. So finding interesting, you know, ways for him to be sort of an underdog or to be interesting or whatever is going to be increasingly difficult if you're doing on the monthly grind. Now, when you get something like All-Star Superman with like Grant Morrison writing it and Frank Quitely, who brings like just an amazing emotion to the artwork, that's an example of like, man, like Superman, you know, that he's taking these like grand ideas of what Superman can do in his world and, you know, examining the humanity of Superman within the context of that fantastic stuff. And that's why All-Star Superman really works. But it's also like one Superman work that was, I think, 12 issues out of how many, thousands of issues of Superman there have been. And I mean, how many of them are really all that memorable? And I imagine Captain America is kind of the same way. It's like, you know, when we were coming up, there were probably a couple writers and artists who tackled them in an interesting manner. I think around 2000, around the mid-aughts is when they started getting into the more of the spy game type stuff with Captain America. And then I think, I don't know when it was, 10 years ago, time goes by so quick, you know, he was like gunned down, and that's when Bucky took over the role, you know, as Winter Soldier. as Captain America, and then at whatever point Falcon took over too, which is the basis of
It's fairly
of
recent,
this.
I think. Yeah.
I think it was pretty recently. It was great seeing that stuff. Like it was awesome seeing just how much they adapted Falcon's Captain America outfit to his Captain America persona in this this series. It was really, really cool. I really appreciate that. I'm kind of like you though, dude. Like a lot of people that I saw or that I've read about or I've talked to really like nutted over the Winter Soldier movie, the one with like Redford in it.
Yeah, people love that movie, and I'm
kind of lukewarm on it.
Lukewarm on it, yeah. To me, my favorite Captain America movie is Civil War.
Because it's mainly an Avengers movie.
Yeah, it's totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I think of that movie more as like Avengers 2 because I don't really want to think about Avengers too much. Yeah. But yeah, Winter Soldier. I was like, oh, this is cool. Right on.
Yeah, I wasn't. I kind of
liked it. I liked it that it was so much better than like Captain America 1. But like Captain America 1 wasn't bad. It was just like, well, this is incredibly basic. You know.
It's Marvel origin movies. Like if you know like that's the thing about Captain America, is like we all know, like all us nerds anyways, we all know the origin. Like we know it. Like I go back and watch it, and as a film, it still stands up. It's like it holds together a lot better, I'll be honest with you, than the first Avengers movie. Like I went back and saw that relatively recently, and without all the chemistry that everybody has developed since then, and Loki was a fairly one-dimensional villain at the time. And it wasn't until much later, or until later in the subsequent movies that, like, you know, he sort of grew into more complex character. And then obviously when you watch like Ragnarok, it's like, oh man, just an explosion of character and charisma that Taika Waititi was able to bring out of everything. But yeah, I mean, when you go back and watch those first movies, I mean, the first Iron Man still holds up really well too. Like, you know,
Robert Downey
Jr. is great. But, you know, in Lacey's take on Captain America always was like, she'd say, he's such a Magoo. He's such like the good guy, you know? And it's like, it was pretty one-dimensional early on. And then as he sort of understands the world as it is, which obviously he does in Winter Soldier because it's all sorts of like intergovernmental stuff going on. But yeah, just as a movie, like I just really wasn't into it that much. So I wasn't looking forward to this all that much either. And in fact, the first like 3 episodes or so, I was like, you know, I'd watch them because Summer was watching them and she's really into this stuff. And I was like, you know what? I want to keep up. I want to watch it. They're not like offensively bad or anything, but they also weren't like over the top good. I appreciated the stuff that they were doing with Bucky, but
oh yeah, that was great. I think that for me that was a highlight. I mean my big gripe, and I don't want to dance around this, but I want to be delicate because I didn't have a problem with it per se, but I felt like in that first episode they got really heavy-handed with specifically the socio-political stuff about like Sam needing a loan and stuff like that, and the racial stuff, which I think is very motivated, but it felt like maybe if there was a way that they could have spread it out over a couple episodes instead of just like, it felt just all crammed into that one first episode.
It came at you really quick when the MCU had never really dealt with it before.
That's true. Yeah. I think maybe that was it. And it felt like a big portion of that first episode where I was like, oh, this is all appropriate and I appreciate this, but like, it almost felt like it was a post hoc thing. Like they had after the fact gone back and be like, hey, like almost like a studio note, like, hey, go back to that first episode and put it in a bunch of stuff about how America is still horribly racist, because obviously it is.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know, but like, I mean, even like, even my buddy Dom was saying, it was like, I'm trying to watch who's black, who was like, I'm trying to watch a Marvel movie, you know, like. What?
And then the cops are racially profiling Sam. Yeah, in that first episode. Yeah. No, it is one of those things, dude, where it's like, okay, you guys get A for effort, you know, because you're bringing it up and that's good. And because we all know where it's going, Sam's going to be the face of America, you know, and it's like, that's kind of a heavy thing for a black man to assume that mantle.
Absolutely.
With how fucked up things are in this country. And so, but yeah, it did. I totally see what you're saying. It's like, it was sort of a setup out of nowhere.
Yeah, totally. they paced it out better when they introduced Isaiah Bradley. And then started like metering that storyline out over a couple episodes. And then at the end, it felt very satisfying. But it just felt like there was just a lot of it crammed into that first episode. Or maybe I just need to go back and rewatch that first episode because maybe.
I think it was also just like that when he got pulled over, or when they just went, and it was like, oh man, they're really going here. That's kind of like I appreciate that they're doing that. But and then of course, they're gonna be like, hey, he's an Avenger, and then you find out that the Avengers don't get paid, and it's like, wait, really?
That's another thing where you're just like, whoa, wait a second.
Right?
Like, even if theoretically Tony Stark, who's a fucking multi-trillionaire or whatever, doesn't have a stipend for these guys that are doing great work and saving lives, which he clearly should. Like, doesn't Sam just literally have Stark technology on his back? Shouldn't he get paid for using that and like spreading, essentially being a flying marketing advice?
Right.
Like, oh, he's using Stark technology wings to help the world. That's like a good ambassador thing. But like, even if that's not the case, even if Tony Stark hasn't set that fund up, or if Pepper Potts hasn't set that fund up in absence of Tony, which is a stretch, the reality of the MCU is still somewhat based on our reality in that this is a multi-corporation world. It's a hugely capitalistic world. What corporate entity would not want Sam Wilson as a mascot? How would he not have, some sort of like athletic wear deal,
this guy is part of the Avengers.
Selling Levi's jeans or something.
They're not getting $300,000 speaking arrangement deals,
that too, for sure.
Right. How are they not on Cameo for $1,000 for a 30-second video? There should be a trillion ways they're monetizing their involvement with the Avengers.
And they're they literally have played with, they show action figures and stuff in the show.
Right.
There's kids playing with superhero action figures.
Yeah.
So how does Sam not get license rights payments from the action figure companies?
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, that's a big stretch, guys. Like that's comparable to me as like asking, guilting politicians into doing something. Like, all right, these two things, we have accepted people flying through the air on robot wings and giant 12-foot purple men blinking into existence and killing half the life of the universe. That all makes sense. But these other things over here, superheroes not making any money, that doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make any sense. I did not know that Julia Louis-Dreyfus was going to be introduced into the MCU. And now when I see her, like in the 2 scenes that she's been in, or the 3 scenes she's been in, I just wanted her to curse like Serena. What's in Veep? What's her last name?
I never watched Veep. I feel bad.
You've never seen Veep?
I've never seen it.
Oh, dude, you're missing out. It's fucking outstanding. And and nobody curses like her because she's like a mile a minute curse in that show. It's that you would, if you, as soon as we're done, if you pop it on, you will breeze through the entire series. It's
I love
amazing.
Matt Walsh. I should check it out.
They're all great. That show. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of like, I don't know, we summed it up a little bit. I thought we did pretty good there, summing up the show.
Well, yeah, I mean, overall the show I think is great. And there's no element, aside from the 2 things that we mentioned, like superheroes not getting paid and then politicians ever doing anything. Those were the biggest stretches for me.
Yeah.
I thought all the characters were fantastic.
Oh, my other bone to pick. Let me ask you something.
Yeah?
If you're Winter Soldier and you killed that dude, I understand that like you want to make amends and stuff. Don't you just sort of leave it alone with that old man?
I think that's ultimately a personal choice. I believe, me personally, I agree with that. I think that would have been the better call, because at some point you need to check your own compass and your own like perception and your own well-being and be like, is this apology more about making me feel better about the thing or giving them some sort of peace? Which is like, uh, like perhaps like, and I don't know the answer to this. Perhaps giving him friendship and support and hang out with that guy was the better call. And then, but to also like to go from that and then later on be like, hey man, guess what? I killed your son. Sorry about that. Yeah. I know we've been buddies for like an indiscriminate amount of time. But yeah, it was actually because I killed your son.
Yeah, yeah. It's been racking.
Like that was just like, all right, dude.
Brains, yeah.
Maybe you should just let that one go. You know, like
right.
Give your book back to your therapist without that last name crossed off, because sometimes you got to take a hit. You know.
Right. Yeah. That was my thought. I was like, why couldn't he just even Summer, who like she loves everything. She was like, oh, don't tell him that. That's gonna like he's old. Like any amount of emotional trauma at this point could end his life.
Yeah, I feel like there's a way to handle it that maybe would have made Winter Soldier feel a little bit better, and then also not made the old guy feel so shitty. You know,
like I was just hanging out. I was just sharing a drink with my.
Hey, I never told you this, but I actually knew your son. I met him right before he died.
Yeah.
And I was scared to tell you because I didn't know how it would make you feel, but he seemed like a very strong and intelligent person.
Unfortunately, not smart or strong enough to dodge my bullets.
Oh, yikes. Yeah.
I mean, you have to make sure that, like, if you bust out a lie, you got to make sure that you're covered if you get caught in it. Yeah. You know? It's like, oh, what were you doing there? Killing him.
I was there in business. The business of killing people.
And your son, specifically.
He is a person, and let's go get some sushi. You know, that's what we do.
And we go hook up with that girl at the sushi place. But yeah. That was, you know. But the show did sort of engender me a bit more to Bucky Barnes.
Yeah, for sure. I think that they fleshed that character out a lot better than they did in the movies, which I really appreciated. I mean, I liked all the beats that they hit. I liked the introduction of the Flag Smashers. I liked U.S. Agent and Battlestar. Like I said before, Battlestar gets killed by the sort of lead Flag Smasher. Mm-hmm. And that's the trauma that sends the MCU U.S. Agent off the sort of deep end.
Yeah.
And it's very justifiable. It's actually like that hit hard for me, honestly. Like I messed it up a bit at that.
When his buddy died, huh?
And then later,
was that his name? Battlestar? He had a name. He had like a real name. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. The adaptation of the scene where U.S. Agent kills somebody with the shield, I thought was incredibly well rendered. That
was awesome.
Fascinating to watch. Because I remember that in the comics was like a big thing. To sort of see it on the show and to see that people reacted to it as significantly in the larger culture as they do in like the microcosm of comic world was really great. And I really liked that at the very end, because it happens at the end of episode 4, I think.
Mm-hmm, that sounds right.
That beat. Where it happens, John Walker kills the guy with the shield, and you have Sam and Bucky run up on it, and they're both sort of in their own regard experts in trauma, and know that like, John Walker's been through a lot of trauma, not just seeing his best friend just murdered in front of him, but also having gone through the trauma of war. Like Bucky understands that intimately because he's gone through that himself, and also like gone through brainwash and being used as a tool of murder. And Sam's also like very intimately aware of trauma as a trauma counselor and everything too. They both, as actors, come upon that and have this moment of silent recognition, which was was incredibly powerful, and well presented. So I really appreciated that. I mean, I thought it was a great show.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. And then next up's Loki. You looking forward to that? That looks fucking outstanding. Oh yeah,
it looks amazing. Great. Yeah. Did you watch the most recent trailer?
I did. It was awesome.
Got like a Terry Gilliam feel to it.
I know,
like a Brazil kind of thing.
I know.
It looks really cool, man.
And Owen Wilson's in it.
Yeah,
that looks great. And then he's going to be DB Cooper apparently.
There's like in the first trailer, there's like a total DB Cooper bit, where
He's totally gonna be DB
because he's jumping around in time. I wonder if they'll do any like quantum leap stuff. It kind of feels like that.
You think he's
right?
gonna run into Sam Beckett? You think he's jumping into people's bodies?
Yeah, I don't think that the Belisario world and the MCU
that's not a shared universe.
Intermesh. No, I don't believe they are.
Be a Peacock Disney Plus crossover. I don't think they're allowed to do that these days. Be another 20 years before Disney just buys everything.
Oh, maybe 20 months. Who knows?
Oh man. So yeah, that should be fun. Anyways, I don't know. Maybe we'll do this again next week if you're not doing anything. We'll find something else to talk about.
Cool, man.
Maybe I'll watch that shitty Mortal Kombat movie. Was it shitty or good?
I really enjoyed it, to be honest.
Yeah?
I went into the thing, it was going to be crap, but it'll be somewhat enjoyable crap. And I got like 15, 20 minutes in, and I was like, oh, I kind of like this.
Did you watch Godzilla Kong?
No.
It's just a fucking monster movie. There's nothing to talk about with that one. It's just like a giant. It's a giant.
I watched Kong Skull Island back when they had movie theaters. Although they're coming back now. Looking forward to going to the movie theater again.
Yeah, me too.
I like Kong Skull Island. I think that was very enjoyable.
Yeah, this is funny.
Most of this crop of Godzilla movies I have not seen. I watched part of the Gareth Edwards one and fell asleep.
It was like jumping into. Like this is I think like the fourth movie of the bunch because I think there was 2 Godzilla movies and there was 1 Kong movie I think before this.
Well, there was the Peter Jackson King Kong.
No. The Skull Island was in this continuity.
Yes,
and then there was 2 Godzilla movies.
Correct.
So jumping into this and it's like the 4th movie of a series, but like honestly, you never fucking know. Like they talk about it. There's this great concept in it, like Hollow Earth. They go down. They like apparently the middle of the Earth is not a core. It's not like what we know. It's like just a hollow. It's like I don't know. It looks like the Bahamas or something. But there's like 2 skies. There's like you look up in the sky and there's like more ground. I have no idea where the light's coming from.
Like the Earth is a Dyson sphere, right?
Yeah, but yeah, kind of like that. It's like it's giving like too much credence to like flat earthers. I feel like now there's going to be like a whole other.
Well, no, because the Earth is still a sphere.
Yeah, but it's like that though. They're gonna be like, "Oh, see, there is weird shit that scientists aren't telling us about." It's like, no, it's just a movie.
If flat earthers thought that the Earth was still hollow, like they're flat hollow earthers, do they think that everything's inside the hollow Earth is in 2 dimensions? Like they're like, yeah, that's where comic books come from.
Everybody thinks that Matthew McConaughey is like Matthew McConaughey in that Doritos commercial where he's like flat. He's just 2-dimensional. You seen that one?
Like, I have not.
It's weird. It's Matthew McConaughey and he's like a piece of paper. But he's like sentient and he like slips into like a Doritos vending machine so he can eat some Doritos. Because it's for Doritos 3D. I think that's what it is. It's like the Doritos they're like shaping them so they're not flat.
All right, I have multiple problems with everything going on here.
And he eats the Dorito 3D and then it turns into real Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, but other Doritos are still 3D.
No, they're flat. There's only 2-dimensional.
No. There's still a width that's just not much.
Yes, it's infinitesimal. It's small. So basically,
it's substantial. It's a lot thicker than like
2.1D is what it is. Basically, it's not fully 3D.
I want a world where everybody's like Matthew McConaughey in the Lincoln commercials. That's what I want.
I think everything be much better.
Yeah, because everybody's it's just all nonsensical. Everybody's just like, oh yeah, what is the kind of shit that he even says? It's just like
you go down the road,
look across that horizon.
You're in the
you
water.
Feel the air in your hair, and you think about the world, and you smell flowers coming across the sunset.
I don't think he's that literal about anything, dude. I think he's so much more abstract. I just want him to say, all right, and then you go to the high school because you get older and they stay the same age.
Or you're just giving directions and you want to turn left at the Wendy's. Oh, yeah. All right.
I'll meet you there. And then I'm going to turn into a flat person and I'm going to get some Doritos.
Because I got to get us some Doritos.
Oh, man. Anyways, so maybe we'll do this next week. Maybe it'll be like the 4 lights where we just don't do shit. I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about Star Trek now. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week, but hopefully we'll do it. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, buddy.
Bye, everybody.